And tonight on our Great American panel, he is a former New York Senator. Fox News contributor Al D'Amato's here. She worked in the White House under George W. Bush for media affairs. Mercedes Vienna Schlapp is back with us, and he is a country music legend, superstar, and a member of the legendary band Larry and the Gatlin Brothers. Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers. Latest album, CD, is called Pilgrimage. Guys, welcome aboard. Thanks for being here. All right, I like what Senator Bunning did. And what Senator Bunning said, he goes, look, I'm going to stand up against this. We can't afford it. We're stealing from our kids and grandkids. Anyway, so he's confronted by an ABC reporter, Jonathan Karl, and here's what happened.
So we just wanted to ask you...
Excuse me, this is a senator-only elevator.
Can I come on the elevator?
No, you may not.
Can you tell us why you're blocking this vote?
I already did. Explained it.
Well, what is the issue? And are you concerned about these people who are unemployed?
I've got to go to the floor.
Senator, could you just explain to us why you're holding this up? I'm sure you have an explanation.
Excuse me.
Okay, are you concerned about those that are going to lose their benefits?
All right, you... Exactly.
Hey, Jim. You know why? He doesn't care about running for re-election. He's not. He's got, you know what, to stand up and take him on. Most of my colleagues, unfortunately, they're so cowed by the press. So we're afraid of what they're going to say, and for good reason, because they, you know, here's ABC trying to knock the heck out of him. I mean, think about this. They know why he's voting against this amendment, why he's filibustering. He's stated it now for day after day. Oh, you want to tell us why? Can I come on with you? Can I put this camera in your face? And he said, no, excuse me. He's a great American. I don't agree with him on every issue, but let me tell you something. $10 billion more that we're going to owe. And what he's saying is stop the political establishment from just piling up these debts. Let them identify where they're going to get the money. And by the way, you know where you can get the money?
The stimulus.
The TARP funds.
That's sure, the TARP money came back.
How about the auto bailout funds that are coming back? Right. Take the $10 billion. Yeah, well, no, they want to use that money for what? Their own political hiring.
Well, and he's made a valid argument. I mean, the Congress passed this budgetary enforcement mechanism called PAYGO, of course, and they've never enforced it.
Never.
And so here you are, the liberals love this idea of the PAYGO, but in fact, they're not restraining spending, and they're basically saying with every new spending initiative, it's an emergency spending. So we can't use money from the stimulus package, get $10 billion. We can't find that, and to pay for the the jobless benefits.
Right. Well, it's Mr. Smith goes to Washington. You know, Mr. Bunning goes to Washington. My daddy's a working man. He worked today. He's 82. He worked most of the days he went to work, as far as I can remember, when I was a kid.
Why didn't you buy him a house? You're a rich musician, for crying out loud.
I did that a little bit later on, but he bought the houses first. You know, because that was, and as far as I know, this working man, Curly Gatlin, as far as I know, never took an unemployment check in his life. Not that that made him a good man. Other things made him a good man. And it doesn't mean that those who are taking those unemployment checks are bad people. But what it does call up to my mind is that when he married my mama and decided to raise a family, that he took upon himself the responsibility of taking care of his kids. And now these people that, say you automatically, that it writes a blank check on, on my bank account, I'm going, hold it. Hold it. There's something wrong with this.
You were there for years.
Sure.
So you know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it a matter of these guys all think they're going to get reelected by bringing as much money back to their states or districts? That's how we judge them successful? And here's a guy who's leaving and saying, you know what, no more. I'm drawing the line right here. We can't afford it.
I have great admiration for Jim. First of all, you're talking about a Hall of Famer. This was some tough guy, a great baseball pitcher in his time, so he knows what it's like to compete, and he's finally said, I'm tired of playing the games, and no, I'm not going to take your nonsense. Would he have done it 6 years ago if he were running again? I don't know, but I see what he's done now, and he's had the courage to stand up.
Mercedes, does this make a case for term limits? Because if everyone has the attitude, I'm out of here in a couple of years, are they going to be more like that?
Well, I think it would help to have the term limits in place to, they serve their time. And for example, like Senator Byrd from West Virginia, it might be time for him to retire and let the new blood come in. The other part is that this is really going to, the point he made about, reining in this reckless spending, this is what we're going to see come November 2020. 10. You're going to see Marco Rubio, Todd Tiahrt in Kansas, several of these other candidates out there that are really going to push, let's push, you know, restrain government spending and not allow this to continue.
This is where Republicans, they got to go back to these principles. I got a whole book. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But this is, if they go back to these principles, it'll resonate, and then they got to keep their promises, Larry, real quick.
Well, absolutely. When Harry Reid wants to ride in on a white horse and save and try to fix the situation that he helped to cause, I mean, your boss and my friend, 2 years before Fannie and Freddie went under, he went to him and said, we got to fix this, fellas. And they said no. So you can't have it both ways. It's kind of like the old boy is the veterinarian and the taxidermist. I mean, either way, you get your dog back. But come on, Harry, you can't have it both ways. Ride in on the white horse and clean up what you messed up. I don't think the motto would have said it quite that way. Well, that's how we say it in
cultural
Texas.
shock.
I think we got a song there.
That is culturally difficult for me.
We'll take a break. More with our great American panel.
We demonstrated, and this is the most abusive Congress that you could possibly see. We're going to give it to you whether you like, and that's what happened up in Massachusetts. People voted not for Republicans, and so I hope my Republican colleagues begin to understand this. They voted against the arrogance of power. And DeLay wielded that same kind of situation. He shut the Democrats out. You don't do that. And it's wrong. So both parties have got to learn to answer the big and tough questions with principles. Stand up. Bunning is an example of standing up on principle.
All right, let me, politically now, you got Cole Cass Jefferson, you got Charlie Rangel, you got the Speaker of the House, obviously hypocritical here. How does this impact the 2010 race? Has this become a big issue?
Again, I think it's a huge issue, but they've got so many huge issues going on besides the ethics violations with Rangel, which, of course, we had one of the CBC members come out saying, please resign your Ways and Means chairmanship. You know, and he doesn't step down. Yeah, correct. And he hasn't stepped down, and they just cling on to this power. But what's going to happen is she's also said that you have to sacrifice your careers, you know, you moderate Democrats, for the sake of passing health care. So again, she is in it to just as an ideal, as someone who just believes in a liberal agenda, just like Obama. Obama came in with the idea of changing Washington. Well, that's not happening.
All right, so I thought the same thing happened. I thought the president came off as extraordinarily arrogant when confronted by John McCain. John McCain said, if this bill's so good, why did you have to buy off Ben Nelson with the Cornhusker kickback? If this bill's so good, why did you have to buy off Mary Landrieu with the Louisiana Purchase? And then the president, those are talking points, John. And by the way, I won the election. In
the first place, I think that Senator McCain showed an absolute unbelievable grace in not going over and punching him in the nose or getting up and walking out.
If you punch the president in the nose, let me just tell you, Larry, that's not
maybe
that wouldn't be a good idea.
In a manner of speaking,
yes.
But the point that Senator McCain was trying to make, Mr. President, process does matter. The people at home, it's not just about the substance of the bill that they hate, but the fact, the way it is being done. And he says, no, they're not worried about yes, they are. You see, my dad cares about the fact that you buy a guy off.
Yeah, a lot of them. That, in my mind, is a bribe. If Enron or any big corporation did this, it would be a bribe. So
it is the arrogance of power, the display, and I think Mercedes said it. We're going to give this to you. This is what Nancy Pelosi and the president are saying now. You know, you don't want to come with us? And by the way, they're not willing to really compromise. We're going to jam this through.
Wait a minute. Here's my question. Why are they so tone deaf, knowing the polls are so against them,
well,
especially with reconciliation?
Disconnected with the American people. I mean, when Nancy Pelosi's listening to her San Francisco liberals, nothing against San Francisco, beautiful city, but they are not, you know, that's her constituency. They're saying go and pass this bill.
But she's got these congressmen in New York, Senator D'Amato, 98% of voting with Pelosi, and they're going to walk the plank for what?
Well, here's the deal.
We got the last 5 seconds.
Here's the thing. They can't govern. They've proved that, but they don't want to govern. They want to rule. There's a difference. There's a difference.
Now, I think this is one of the most important midterm elections in our lifetime. And I have written a book. And I want to remind you, my brand new book will debut on March the 30th. It's called Conservative Victory, Defeating Obama's Radical Agenda. We have a lot planned for this book when it is released. We're going to be hitting the road. We're crisscrossing the country. We're going to have a multi-city book tour. We'll be bringing you a live on-location Hannity that you may be able to come to from a different city almost every night. Now, details about the tour are going to be on my website, Hannity.com. Now, while you're there, you could also get a copy of the book and all of the net profits, proceeds that I would get are going to the Freedom Alliance Scholarship Fund. But don't take this election for granted. It's a roadmap to victory. We look at how radical Obama is. We look at Reagan and the contract and what's worked. And moving forward, what I think Republicans need to do, that is return to their conservative roots. So it's all on my website, Hannity.com. Hope you get a copy, and it'll be there March 30th. Greta's next. See you tomorrow night.